Folks, here on All In with Brian Weatherford, from day one, we have made a point to point out how sincere we are about the fact of how much we appreciate our veterans. We love our veterans, everything they've done for us, everything they will do for us, and everything they do for each other. And from time to time, just like today, we get to speak with an organization who is there to help the veterans. One of my favorite types of guests, I've got to say, I'm very excited to have on our show today. The name of the organization is Operation Transition Outside the Wire. We have not one but two representatives with us today, Tom West and Shannon Francis, our guests here on All In with Brian Weatherford. Folks, welcome to the show today. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing
wonderful. Thank you for having us.
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here. Tom, first and foremost, we talked before we came on camera. Right here on camera, I want to say thank you for your service. You are a veteran, I believe a Marine. Is that correct?
Hoorah, my friend, hoorah.
Hoorah, indeed. Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate that. Let's get on to Operation Transition Outside the Wire. I'm curious, obviously that's got to have some sort of a military tie-in with the name. To a non-military guy like myself, can you let me peek behind the curtain? How'd you come up with this name?
Perfect. Well, when you're in combat, when you're deployed, you often live behind the wire. So just imagine yourself having a camp surrounded by Callantine wire and a few other things for a defensive mechanism. And then there's a point where you transition from behind the wire to outside the wire, and that's called civilian life.
Totally
why
makes
the
sense.
Transition outside the wire.
Totally makes sense to me. And the transition from military life to civilian life is, for some people, it's overwhelming. I don't know if you went through that yourself, but I know because of what both of you do, you're familiar with that. Before I go any further, Shannon and Tom, y'all take turns. What do each of you do with the organization? What's your role?
So we're both the founders. It's kind of evolved through building a coffee shop. We started coffee roasting and it carved all that off as our nonprofit, Transition Outside the Wire. Personally, I'm the CFO. Tom's the president. We have 6 other board members, mixture of vets and their wives, and some women. But it's definitely taken shape. We've got a great crew.
So
for
Tom,
myself, I'm the president of Transition Outside the Wire. I basically provide the leadership. You know, we have so many good folks that are surrounding us and been part of the board of this organization that care deeply about veterans. And they care deeply that 22 a day, which is the current number of vets that take their own lives, is 22 too many. And there's got to be a better way. And we believe that we have a solution for that.
well, bless you both for that. Yes, we do need a solution for that, and I'm thankful to have you here. Before I go any further, I got to mention something that I thought was really unique. Could you take a moment to explain to me the relationship between Transition Outside the Wire and coffee, of all things? What's that relationship?
Exactly. So the interesting thing about coffee is last year in the United States alone, coffee industry is $11.4 billion industry. We need a piece of that because what part of our program is the veterans, they work throughout their 6 month on the transition part of the program. So their job every day is roasting coffee, bagging coffee, shipping coffee, etc. This way it guarantees us that we have a revenue stream that is sustainable and renewable. And why this is important is that we don't take any government funding at all. I mean, our motto is clear: find a vet, help a vet, then do the darn paperwork. If we find you out in the streets and you need help right away, well, gosh darn it, we're going to give you the help that you need right away. But it's 100% funded by the coffee.
And to the point, you're actually you're actually based out of a coffee shop, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. We've been here 2.5 years, and when we first opened up the coffee shop, our understanding of the homeless crisis and our understanding of what vets go through, it's really been a 180-degree shift for us. In as much as we've tried to feed and clothe and feed and clothe, and in a very reactive way help people get off the streets and have some success in their lives, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. We would much rather have you when you come just out of service. You come to us for 6 months. You get an education, you have a job, you get paid at the end of the program. All of your housing, everything that you have is paid for via the coffee that people subscribe to on our website. So it's kind of unique in that way, but it really allows us to have a unique model to kind of not only do this with 25 families, but also expand on that and continue to grow it in different states. That's the important part. So ultimately we can have hundreds and hundreds of veteran families. And that's another unique thing about us, is that we don't just help the veteran, we take the entire family. More often than not, the spouses are kind of left when their husbands go out and get assistance. It's important that they heal, that family unit heals from the start, and that the divorce rates were lowered.
I hope one thing that people will be open to realizing, because I certainly realize this, it's not just the soldier who serves, you're right, it's the entire family who is given a big piece of themselves in support of our country. And the fact that you realize that, I knew you would, you're a veteran yourself and the people you work with, but a lot of people don't realize that. So folks, pay attention. It's not just the veteran who serves, it's the entire family, the spouse, the kids, right, the extended family as well. The military in itself becomes a family for them, but once the transition is complete, you can get the cohesiveness back together of that family through organizations just like this. Hey, Shannon, let me ask you this. Maybe you know, and if not, Tom, you jump in. How do you go about finding the veterans that you help?
That's the challenge. We've been doing for the last 2.5 years. We have to go out and find them. We have to press them to get the help more often than not, because they have that sense of pride. Hence why we are doing what we're doing in a proactive manner rather than reactive. We want to get those vets as soon as they come out of service, give them that 6 months to basically decompress and start their transition to civilian. Because it is hard to find them once they feel like they've failed.
Have you reached the level yet to where veterans recommend you to other veterans? To where, veteran can talk to veteran and say, hey, I was you 6 months ago, but I found this group, you need to get involved. Basically, are you able to get referrals from veterans referring other veterans that are just beginning the transition process?
Most certainly. In fact, for the last 2.5 years, we've helped a tremendous number of vets just here in the shop. We had a Veterans Cafe before the pandemic hit, which was basically every second and fourth Friday where veterans come together. And you really started this organic little group that says, let's get veterans talking to veterans. And that really grew quickly. It snowballed. But then the pandemic hit and we weren't able to do that at the shop anymore. We have a rep from the VA that comes down with his laptop and works on Service Connection. We have a lot of different groups involved that are very, very proactive and huge advocates for veterans. But once again, the challenge is, once you're on the streets, once you've hit that point, it is very difficult to get you on a path for success because of all the bureaucracy, all of the red tape. A perfect example is we know of 110 veterans that have HUD-VASH vouchers for housing. 110. To get them in housing is 9 months to a year and a half. Once they get the housing with that HUD-VASH, it still doesn't solve the issue of education, having a job, a good paying job, not just a job, a good paying job that they're qualified for. Because you're patching up the pieces that are already broken. You're dealing with substance abuse. You're dealing with family unit already being crushed. I always say, for example, when I came out, a little personal story.
Hey, Tom, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I'm out of time right now. I want to make sure everybody understands one thing and one thing clear. You can get involved as well. So we've had the website here on the screen. Contact these people, all right? Whether you're a veteran or not, you're going to know someone that needs some help, and you can pitch in too. Thank you both for your story. Thank you for all you do. Continued success.